Today is a very important day. In our biblical calendar, this is known as the first day of Aviv. Today, most of the time, we call this Nisan. When we went to Babylon, we came back with new names for our months. But Aviv, maybe you've heard that word before. Tel Aviv, maybe you've heard that word. Aviv is our word for spring, and it also means someone kind of like me, very lively. And it also means this. The green head of the wheat is called the Aviv. This is the Aviv today. This is a wild one. This is rye, but still, the grain head was looked at a certain time, and if they knew it was going to be harvest within a month, then we would go ahead and declare this month the month of Aviv so that we would have Passover. We start counting today the days of the year according to the biblical calendar. And the very first day that is going to be a very important and in some ways the most important holiday is Pesach. And Pesach just simply means to pass over, because the angel of death passed over the children of Israel who had the blood on the doorposts. And this is the whole story from the book of Exodus. And then after that, the Passover, and we have a wonderful celebration that we do. After that, 2 days later, we have what we call the first grain offering, where they brought the early grains into the temple, which stood right there where the golden dome is. And they made this wave offering to the Lord. That was the day that the Lord rose from the dead. It is a picture of the resurrection of the Lord. Because he said, do you remember this? He says in John 6, I am the bread of heaven. I have been given from the Father. I've come down from heaven. And that if you don't eat this bread, which he calls his flesh, and drink my blood, you can have nothing to do with me. If you remember in the book of John, many people left. They said, this is too hard. We can't have anything to do with this man. What is he talking about? You know, when they were in the desert with Moses, they received manna. Manna was a picture of the Lord sustaining us day by day. The bread of heaven coming down that needs to be purchased, you might say, or gathered every single morning, except for Friday morning when it lasted for 2 days. So this is a very important time of the year. This is the time of the beginnings. The beginnings. Aviv is the beginning of the year. And this is the first day of Aviv. Then after Passover and after the wave offering, then we start counting what we call the days of Omer, the days of cutting the grain and leaving it in the field. And we will count those days from the resurrection day of the Lord until something called Shavuot. And that day, Shavuot, is the 49th day where you stop the gathering in of the wheat harvest and you celebrate the grain harvest because God has brought in this grain harvest. And that will be 7 weeks after this wave offering, after our celebration of Passover. So this is what we're beginning to do now. And many people in the Christian world know Passover as Easter. Of course, we don't have the same calendar, so they don't always come out alike. And then the grain harvest, the 7-week harvest after Passover, is called the Feast of Weeks. And you probably know it as Pentecost, because Pentecost just simply means 50, and it was after you counted 49 days, then you had the 50th day as your holiday. So that's what we're entering into. These are what we call the first holidays, or the first fruit holidays, because the first fruits are the grain harvest. The grasses are going to be harvested. So this is what we're beginning to see here. And there's so much happening on the face of the earth. Yesterday there was a solar eclipse in the west. But God has a timetable. God has a calendar. And he's still here sending the grass at the right time to grow, and the wheat is all going to harvest at the right time. And we can put our trust in the Lord of the harvest, that He is, one, going to be faithful to provide for us, and two, that we can pray that we can be part of what the harvest will look like at the end of the age. Because at the end of the age, there's going to be a great harvest, and I hope you're excited that we can be alive and be part of bringing in the sheaves, bringing in that harvest for the Lord. Happy Aviv!